I am Cheryl A. Blanche and this is my oral recitation. Number 1. What are the crimes classified as provoking war and disloyalty in case of war? They are: number 1. Inciting to war or giving motives for reprisal. Number 2. Violation of neutrality. Number 3. Correspondence with hostile country. Number 4. Flight to enemy's country. Article 119. Violation of neutrality. The penalty of prison correctional shall be inflicted upon anyone who, on the occasion of a war in which the government is not involved, violates any regulations issued by competent authority for the purpose for enforcing neutrality. Number 2. What are the elements of violation of neutrality? Elements of violation of neutrality. Number 1. That there is a war in which the Philippines is not involved. May gera na ang Pilipinas ay hindi kasali. Number 2. That there is a regulation issued by competent authority for the purpose of enforcing neutrality. May patakaran na inilabas ng may kapangyarihan para maipatupad ang pagiging walang kinakampihan ang Pilipinas. Number 3. That the offender violates such regulation, nilabag ng may sala ang patakaran na yaon. Number 3. What is neutrality? A nation or power which takes no part in a contest of arms going on between others is referred to as neutral. Ang bansa o kapangyarihan na hindi nakisali sa labanang armas o na nangyari sa pagitan ng ibang mga bansa ay neutral. Number 4. What is the most important thing to consider in Article 119 for us to consider that such is violated? There was a regulation issued by competent authority for the enforcement of neutrality that was violated. Merong patakaran na inilabas ang may kapangyarihan para maipatupad ang pagiging walang kinakampihan ng Pilipinas at ito ay nilabag. Article 120. Correspondence with hostile country. Any person who, in time of war, shall have correspondence with an enemy country or territory occupied by enemy troops shall be punished. Number 1. By prison correctional if the correspondence has been prohibited by the government. Number 2. By prison mayor if such correspondence be carried on in zippers or conventional signs. And number 3. By reclusion temporal if notice or information be given thereby which might be useful to the enemy. If the offender intended to aid the enemy by giving such notice or information, he shall suffer the penalty of reclusion temporal to death. Number 5. What are the elements of correspondence with hostile country? Elements of correspondence with hostile country. Number 1. That it is in time of war in which the Philippines is involved. Ito ay sa panahon ng gera kung saan ang Pilipinas ay kasali. Number 2. That the offender makes correspondence with an enemy country or territory occupied by enemy troops. Ang may sala ay nakipag-ugnayan sa kalabang bansa o teritoryo na okupado ng mga tropa ng sundalo. Number 3. That the correspondence is either A. Prohibited by the government, or B. Carried on in zippers or conventional signs, or C. Containing notice or information which might be useful to the enemy. Ang ugnayan ay alin man dito. Number A. Letter A. Ipinagbabawal ng gobyerno o letter B. Ipanadala sa pamamagitan ng sulat na may palihim na kahulugan sa mga nakasanayang sinyales, o C. Naglalaman ng babala o impormasyon na makakatulong sa kalaban. Number 6. What is the meaning of correspondence? Correspondence is communication by means of letters, or it may refer to the letters which pass between those who have friendly or business relations. Ang ugnayan ay pagpapasabi sa pamamagitan ng sulat o pwede din itong tumutukoy sa mga sulat na pinapasa sa pamamagitan ng mga tao bilang magkaibigan o may pangnegosyong ugnayan. Article 121. Flight to enemy country. The penalty of arresto mayor shall be inflicted upon any person who, owing allegiance to the government, attempts to flee or go to an enemy country when prohibited by competent authority. Verse 7. What are the elements of flight to enemy country? Elements of flight to enemy country. Number 1. That there is a war in which the Philippines is involved. Merong gera na kung saan ang Pilipinas ay kasali dito. Number 2. That the offender must be owing allegiance to the government. Ang may sala ay dapat may obligasyon na dapat maging tapat sa gobyerno. Number 3, that the offender attempts to flee or go to the enemy country. Ang may sala ay nagtangkang tumakas or pumunta sa kalabang bansa. Number 4, that going to the enemy country is prohibited by competent authority. Ang pagpunta sa kalabang bansa ay pinagbabawal ng may kapangyarihan. Number 8, may an alien resident be guilty of flight to enemy country? An alien resident be guilty of flight to enemy country. Ang dayuhang naninirahan sa bansa ay pwedeng mapanagot sa ilalim ng artikulong ito. Ang batas ay hindi nagsasabing hindi isang dayuhan, kaya ang pagiging matapat na binabanggit sa artikulong ito ay natural o pansamantalang pagiging matapat. Number 9, when can we say that the crime of flight to enemy's country is consummated? Mere attempt to flee or go to enemy country consummates that crime is prohibited by competent authority. Ang pagtangkang, paglayas o pagpunta sa kalabang bansa pa lamang ay masasabi na nating kumpleto ng paggawa ng krimen na ito. Pero kinailangan na ito ay pinagbabawal ng may kapangyarihan. Number 10, why does when prohibited by competent authority mean? Article 121 must be implemented by the government if fleeing or going to an enemy country is not prohibited by competent authority. The crime defined in Article 121 cannot be committed. Ang Article 121 ay dapat pinapatupad ng gobyerno kung ang pagtakas o pagpunta sa kalabang bansa ay hindi pinagbabawal ng may kapangyarihan. Ang krimen na ipinahayag sa Article 121 ay hindi magawa.